public speaking. Some of you guys are like completely freaked out, right? You have to get up and speak. One of the tricks that I learned when I was, I don't know, that tall, I had to give a speech was, imagine everybody in the audience is naked.
That's what they say, but it doesn't help. Also, you see them as more embarrassed than you are?
Yeah, you're the one that's got clothes on, so it's like the confidence is just. Okay, so today, how's everybody feeling?
Good.
How did you guys do on your assessments?
Good enough. Good enough.
Good enough.
Good enough.
What's good enough? Is it 50%, 60%, 70%?
Between 70 and 80%.
70, you got a high achiever over here. Is 50% good enough for anyone? No? Raise your hand if 60% is good enough. Okay, got one. 70%. Okay.
Sort of like 75.
80%?
80 is good.
Wow, we got a high achiever back there. Watch her. Okay. So today we're going to talk about supportive communication. Supportive communication. So, let's see. This really goes to the reason why we want to communicate supportively. In other words, support ourselves in the communication doesn't seem obvious at first, but as we start thinking about it, and we explore people who use supportive communication, we start to see certain patterns. One is they're generally happier. People who use supportive communication are generally happier. You're wondering what I mean by supportive communication? We're going to get into that. But just know that there's a type of communication that can leave you happier than when you started. And we'll call that supportive communication. People that use supportive communication are healthier. Less cancer, they recover faster from surgery, less heart attacks, less colds, less flu. They have stronger immune systems. They live longer. They have less headaches. They get in less accidents. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how can my way of speech or my way of thinking about communication have that effect? We'll see here in a minute. Positive relationships. Information exchange is better. You increase your productivity if you use supportive communication. You're able to solve problems better if you use supportive communication. You're sharper, mental acuity. So you think faster, you form concepts faster, you get things faster. You're a more efficient learner, your IQ increases, and your ability to process a lot of information increases. All because of a way you decided to think and speak. It's a choice. It's a choice to speak in a communicative, in a supportive way. So, and finally you have less errors in your work. Less mistakes, less bad code, less bugs, more time to party. All of this from supportive communication. So let's look at what supportive communication is. It's problem-oriented communication. So it's the type of communication that happens when you're trying to solve a problem. You guys are working on sprints together, right? You're getting challenges, you're getting tasks. Everything you do from when you start that task to when you provide a solution is supportive communication. The talking that's going back and forth between driver and navigator, that's supportive communication. When you guys graduate here and get a job, the conversations you have with your coworkers that center around the product that you're building, that's supportive communication. So there's a right way to do it, and there's a wrong way. If you do it right, you live a long, happy, healthy life. If you do it wrong, you're sick, you crash your car, you get fired. Okay, so supportive communication helps to preserve and enhance a positive relationship. While addressing a problem, giving feedback, or dealing with a difficult issue. So there's a difference, there's a conflict. You want to go this way, she wants to go that way. You can resolve that conflict much easier using supportive communication. So let's see what it looks like. It also strengthens relationships. Just a real quick story. There was a town in Pennsylvania called Rosetta. Still a town in Pennsylvania called Rosetta. But they noticed something in the 1960s about the people in this town. They weren't dying. They weren't dying of all the normal things that everybody else was dying from. Heart disease, strokes, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer. And they thought, this is really weird. Why are these people living to be 100 when everybody in the next town's living to be 60 or 65? So these people most of the people in this town had come from a town in Italy by the same name, Rosetta, Italy. And so they went back to Rosetta, Italy, and they were looking at the people there, and they were dying just like everybody else. So they thought, what's going on here? It's not their genetics, right? There's something about their lifestyle that's allowing them to live longer lives. And so they looked at all the normal things you look at, like, do they smoke? Well, yes, they smoke just as much as the neighboring towns. Are they eating bad food? Yeah, they're pretty much eating the same thing that the neighbors are eating, the towns around them are eating. Is there something in the drinking water? No, it's the same water. And they sort of eliminated all of these environmental reasons why people die and get cancer. And they kind of sat back and was like, what's going on here? Why are these people living to be 100 years old? And one of the things that they discovered that the people in this town had kept an old tradition. And that tradition was they were having dinner with each other every night, the whole family. Right? And they discovered that it was more than that. That there was this closeness. There was this strong relationship. There was supportive communication going on. So that's the power of supportive communication. Rosetta, Pennsylvania. All right. So there are 8 types of supportive communication. 8. This is probably going to be the most boring lecture that you guys have had. And we're going to drill in on some of this stuff, and we're going to do this lecture again during the immersion because it's really important. If you guys get this, you've got power. You've got power in the world. You've got power in your families. You've got power in your work environment. You've got power over your friends. So this is some secret sauce here. So the first type is congruent, not congruent. Does anybody know what congruency is? Are these shapes congruent?
No.
Yeah, more or less. Are these shapes congruent? No. Congruency means you can overlap. You can take this and put it on top of that. So do they match? So it means it's a focus on honest messages where verbal statements match thoughts and feelings. Okay. What a great day. Is that a congruent statement or non-congruent statement? Non-congruent statement. What a great day. That's a congruent statement, right? Okay. Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
No, it's not congruent.
Non-congruent?
Not congruent.
You see how this is working?
Yeah.
You say one thing, but your body language is something else?
The way you say it. Yeah.
Right. Do you see how that could be a problem? You're talking to your pair, fine, do it like you want to. It's not fine, is it? It's really not fine. Okay. So, this might be an example of a what? Congruent or non-congruent? Your behavior really upsets me. Congruent, right? I'm saying it in a straight face. Versus, do I seem upset? Do I seem upset? No. Everything's just fine.
No, that's not good.
Okay. Can we see how this is working? Another form of incongruent statement is protesting too much. I don't expect anybody of you guys to know what that means unless you've read Shakespeare, but it means you say one thing
And you mean another.
and you mean another. Like, we all know this person. I hate gay people. Right? He's about as gay as they get. Right? If that person's always going around like, I hate gay people, damn gay people, screw those gay people. Probably gay. Or, you know, when somebody says, that doesn't bother me. I'm not bothered by that. Right? They're probably really bothered by that. Right? So that's a non-congruent statement. Can we think of any other examples of a non-congruent statement? Any of you guys had any non-congruent statements spoken to you while you were in your pair?
Like, sarcasm is not congruent. Right?
Sarcasm is non-congruent. What is sarcasm?
When you mean something in a, like,
The opposite way.
the opposite way, yeah.
Okay.
So,
So,
I want to give you an example, but nothing comes to my head right now. I don't know.
okay, sarcasm. So, it might be,
Can I give an example?
Yeah, sure.
Like when you tell someone who's stupid, oh yeah, you're so smart.
Yeah.
You can't do it, of course you can do it, you're so smart.
Yeah.
Or like you mean you're stupid, you can't.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, or, you know, you're going to buy something at the store and it's really, really expensive and you say, why is that so cheap?
That's such a-
Yeah.
You're being sarcastic.
Yeah.
It's not really cheap, but, you know, they know what you mean. Sarcasm is bad, by the way. Don't, when you get in a fight with your spouse or your friend, or don't use sarcasm.
So you're
It's gonna enrage more.
Yes, it's something that it cuts deep and it lasts a long time, right? And it taints you as a person, right? The world will think less of you if you use sarcasm. It's kind of punching below the belt, as we say. Okay, so problem-oriented communication focuses on problems rather than on personal traits. Let's see. Okay, so so honest statements. All right, let's go to the next one. Descriptive, not evaluative. So we're describing a behavior, say, we're describing an occasion.
Not evaluating.
We're not putting a value judgment on that. So focus on describing an objective occurrence like the sky is blue, describing your reaction to it, and offering a suggested alternative. So there's three parts to this. You describe something, you describe your reaction. The sky is blue. I love that the sky is blue. I'm hoping that the sky will stay blue. Or if it's something negative, like you have bad body odor today. This is annoying me. Can we go out at lunchtime? Can we go get some deodorant? Right? See how that works. It's descriptive, not evaluative. So here's what happened. Here's my reaction. Here's a suggestion that would make it acceptable, as opposed to you're wrong for what you did or what you're doing.
That's evaluative.
That's evaluative. That's putting a value judgment wrong. That word wrong. You got body odor. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I'm annoyed by it. Some people might find it not offensive, but I find it distracting. So, you are doing it wrong. Is that descriptive or evaluative? Evaluative. How about, I am better than you. I'm smarter than you. You are driving and navigating.
No, that's evaluative. Yeah. Just stated,
I feel like
You are driving and navigating.
This is descriptive.
Raise your hand if you think it's descriptive. Raise your hand if you think it's evaluative. If it's evaluative, where is the value in the statement?
You are a driver and a navigator.
But is it, are we saying it's good or bad?
no.
Maybe it's
it's a
implied.
bad thing by default.
Is it?
It's
Yeah.
implied.
We've said it's bad, but the statement itself, is there a value contained within that statement?
No.
If you never heard that statement before, would you know whether it's good or bad?
No.
No.
So there's no value within that statement.
But it's not descriptive either, right?
How about your code is undocumented?
Undocumented.
Descriptive. How about your code is a mess? Evaluative, because a mess is a bad thing, right? It's got a negative association to it. Your time management sucks.
Evaluative.
You missed the deadline.
Evaluative.
Descriptive, but
Descriptive.
doesn't descriptive have to have like a reaction and a suggestion too, or?
We're just talking about the first part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just talking about the first part. So I think you guys understand now. If it's got a value, if it's got a plus or minus in it, you know, it's like a good or bad, positive or negative, it's evaluative. So here might be a reaction. I'm concerned about your productivity. Right? That's a yes. Your ratings are low.
Evaluative.
Your level of effort is frustrating.
Evaluative.
How is that evaluative?
Frustrating is a negative.
Feeling.
Here would be a way to offer a suggestion. Let's identify 3 ways we can increase your productivity.
Yeah, descriptive.
So you see how that works? I don't just describe a negative behavior. I'm giving feedback, but I'm saying what the negative behavior is, how I feel, and what we can do about it. So here's another example. These clients have complained to me this month that you are not responding to their request. You're not answering their emails. That's a descriptive.
Descriptive.
We're not saying it's good or bad, it's a description. I'm worried. It's my reaction. I'm worried because this client has threatened to go elsewhere, take their business elsewhere.
That's scripted.
Now to focus on the solution. We need to win their confidence back and to show them you are responsive. For example, you could do a free analysis of their systems. Right?
Yep, suggest.
So we get descriptive, evaluative. All right. Next is problem-oriented, not person-oriented. Again, we're focusing on problems rather than people. I'm describing the behavior and not the person. I'm attacking the behavior, not the person. I'm criticizing the behavior, not the person. How can we solve this problem? Versus, you're the reason this problem exists. All right? That's an attack on a person. You might hear statements from your pair saying, "You're bossy." Right? That's not a problem-oriented statement. It's a what? It's personal. It's a personal statement. It's an attack on person. There's actually a name for that called ad hominem. You might have heard that. It's Latin for attack on a person. It's a logical fallacy. You are insensitive. Versus, I'm being left out of the decision-making process. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I am being left out of the decision-making process. Is that problem-oriented or
Problem.
yes? How about you want to control people? Person-oriented. How about you made several sarcastic comments in the meeting today? It's problem-oriented. We're not attacking the person. We're attacking the behavior. Making sarcastic comments. I don't like the way you dress.
That's very personal.
Person. Versus, your dress is not in line with the company policy.
Yeah. Problem.
See how this is working?
Yeah.
There's two ways to say things. One of the ways of saying it, you walk out of the office at the end of the day happy. The other way, you walk out of the office dinged up, banged up. Okay. And number 4, validating, not validating. Does anybody know what the word validating means?
Yeah, like,
It's a computer science term, isn't it? You validate your code?
Validate the condition.
Whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, whether it's right or wrong. So, it's a focus on statements that communicate respect, flexibility, collaboration, and areas of agreement. Example. I have some ideas, but you might have some good suggestions. That's validating, as opposed to, we're going to do it my way. That's not a very validating statement. It's saying, I'm the only one here. Not validating speech is usually disrespectful, oftentimes disrespectful. You're talking down to somebody. You're denying that they're an equal part of the solution. Mansplaining, where a man talks down to a woman, that's not validating. It's disrespectful. It's the way your dad talked to you when you were like this high, right? You didn't know any better. Statements like, if you knew what I knew, right? Or, your opinion is incorrect, or you shouldn't feel that way. Those are examples of non-validating speech. Validating speech it's two-way, right? It's going back and forth. It's based on agreement. So, when you're working together in pairs, keep that in mind. The conversation should be two-way. And there's things that you can say that will let your partner know that you're validating, speaking in a validating way. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Specific, not global. A focus on specific events or behaviors and avoid general, extreme, either-or statements. An example. You interrupted me 3 times during our meeting. Versus, you are always trying to get attention. You see how one is very specific?
Yeah.
3 times. Interrupted. Where the other one is just it's very general. It's not helpful. What do you mean by that? I'm always trying to get attention. That doesn't mean anything. It's so general as to mean nothing. You have trouble managing your time. Is that global or specific?
Global.
How is it specific?
Global.
No, it's global. We always have this.
Okay. You spend an hour today scheduling meetings when your assistant could have done that.
That's the specific.
Specific, right? Both statements are saying the same thing, more or less. But one is specific and one is general or global. Your communication needs to improve.
Global.
Global. Versus you spent 90% of your time criticizing your team's performance and 10% of your time offering solutions. Very specific, right? So you see how one is helpful and the other one isn't? The sound of your voice bothers me.
Global. That's global.
Global. Versus, it bothers me when you're talking on your cell phone during a lecture. Very specific, right? So in both cases, they're both saying the same thing, right? But one is very specific and one is very global. Okay. So this also means avoiding extreme statements like, you have no consideration for others' feelings. That's a global statement. It doesn't mean anything, though. Okay. We're almost there. A few more. Conjunctive, disjunctive. Does anybody know what the word conjunctive means?
Conjunction.
Conjunction?
Building.
Connected?
Yeah.
Right? Conjunction is connection, and disjunctive means disconnect. You can see where this is going already. It's a focus on statements that flow from what has been said previously to facilitate interaction. You guys have had conversations, and at some point in the conversation, the person you're talking to completely changes the subject
Yeah.
because it's not going in the direction that they want. That's disjunctive. That's not moving you closer to a solution, is it? So an example might be relating to what you said. Relating to what you said, I would like to raise another point. So it's a reference. It's a pointer back to a previous conversation. What do you call a reference in computer science? Pointer? Okay. It's a pointer back. As opposed to, I want to say something. It's not related to the conversation. So it's also disjunctive if you're just, one person is just rattling on, just talking on and on and on and on. That's just disjunctive because it's not pulling the other person into the conversation. Other examples of disjunctive verbal behavior, going off on tangents, as we say. Right? Yeah, not talking about, like, we're going in this direction. Oh, wait a minute, we're going to talk about this now. We're going to go off on this road. Right? The pause, the long, long pause. Right? That's disjunctive because we lost our train of thought. We call it train of thought. You know, the train, streetcar, we've lost our train of thought. So, if you find that your partner is behaving in a disjunctive way, it's your responsibility to bring them back to the conversation. But let's stay focused here, and in order to maintain conjunctive discourse or communication, it's always good when your partner says something, if it's a complex thought, to rephrase that. Okay, what you're saying is this. Okay, I get that. From here, we want to go over here, right? That pulls it together. It makes it continuous. Continuity. There's another word. Owned, not disowned. It's a focus on taking responsibility for your own statements by using personal words like I. So, we might say, I have decided to turn down your request because we don't have the budget. That's owning it. Me, I own it. You have a pretty good idea, but it wouldn't get approved.
You're not owning it.
I'm not owning it because it would refers to somebody outside of me. Boss wouldn't approve it, the rest of the committee wouldn't approve it. One is owned, I take responsibility for that. I'm accountable for that statement. This one I'm trying to escape responsibility. We think it would be in your best interest to work late. Is that owned or disowned? Disowned. We think it would be in your best interest to work late. They said it was a waste of time. Is that owned or disowned? Disowned. I need for you guys to work late today. Right? The choice to fire you was my decision. See how this is working now? You're taking responsibility, you're taking ownership for your communication. Cool. All right, one more. Supportive listening, not one-way listening. It's a focus on variety of appropriate responses with a bias towards reflective responses. Tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking. Oh, I know. This was confusing for you. It's also body language. What do you think are the obstacles standing in the way of improvement? So somebody just described, obviously, a problem. So now you're asking them to go deeper. Versus, as I said before, you made too many mistakes, you're just not performing. That's one-way listening. So you might say something in a conversation, tell me more about that. That's supportive.